We're at a Lenape Indian camp at Conner Prairie, where you can travel back to 1816, today on Indiana Outdoors.
Welcome to Indiana Outdoors. I'm Jill Ditmire.
And I'm Don Van Meter. We're at Conner Prairie Living History Museum in Fishers, just north of Indianapolis.
Now, living history means that interpreters actually play characters and they speak in first person. And here at Conner Prairie, they have a new program that's called Opening Doors.
And we're going to learn more about that when we visit with Dave Allison later in the program. But first, we're going to Idaville in White County to see some cats.
Great Cats of Indiana is a not-for-profit rescue center. Lots of lions and tigers, but no bears.
No bears this time, just cats. Let's watch.
Rescuing the cats is a passion. It was born out of love for the cats and watching what happens to them when they get put in situations they shouldn't be in.
No bite. No bite.
My name is Rob Craig. I am the director of Great Cats of Indiana, which is a nonprofit sanctuary and a rescue facility for large cats, mostly lions, tigers, cougars. We also deal with some bears and wolves, basically any large cat or carnivore that ends up needing a place to go. At our facility right now, we have 45 animals altogether. We have 15 tigers. We have 11 cougars. We have 11 lions. We also have some wolves and a couple bears, and then some miscellaneous wolf hybrids also. The cats that are here are very definitely a part of our family. Every cat here has a name. Every cat has its own personality and its own identity. Each one of them has their good habits and their bad habits. Each one of them has little tricks. Each one of them, they have a little idiosyncrasies. Our facility is run with the entire staff of volunteers. There are 5 of us that run the place.
I want to make sure the top's on.
Our day usually starts kind of late because we try to stay on a little bit of the schedule the animals are on. The routine starts out with checking emails, checking for messages, anything that happened overnight from anywhere else in the country regarding rescues or anything like that. It involves checking the cats first thing in the morning, making sure that everybody is where they're supposed to be, making sure everybody looks happy, looks healthy, looks like they're doing okay. We do cage maintenance during the days. We do cage cleaning during the day. So that means that every day we have to check all the enclosures and make sure nothing has been pulled loose.
Out anything different in the cage, he takes apart and pulls down.
Keeps us busy. We run an operating budget of about $7,000 a month. We need to receive that in donations each month in order to stay afloat. Normally we don't. So what that means is our assistant director, she works full-time and has a salary. More often than not, we get as close as we can with the donations, and then her salary makes up whatever's left. Oftentimes when we're contacted by a law enforcement agency or by the federal animal control people, when they've taken something away from somebody and it has to have a place to go, well, we usually find out about it hours before it gets here, and we have a matter of just a few hours to be ready for it. In most cases, these animals were purchased because somebody wanted it to be a pet. They wanted to raise it like a dog, thinking that it would be a dog.
He was a rescue from Ohio. It came to us living in somebody's garage in a cage. Hi, sweetie.
We try to do what we can do to stop doing that on several different fronts. First, by stepping in and taking control of the animal so it's healthy and cared for and handled right. The other part of that is we also try to educate and try to tell people that these animals do not make good pets, and they should not be in an environment where they're tethered or caged or housed like a dog. They need more space than that. They need different diets than that. They need different special care that you don't give to a domestic animal. Our view is if an animal needs it, you do it. You don't look at the cost. It's not the issue. The issue is what's best for the cat in that situation. And the best means that If it needs to eat, you buy it food. If it needs a bigger enclosure, you build it an enclosure. That is a big responsibility. But when you see an animal that is an adult and is fully grown and is as powerful and magnificent as the big cats are, that's what makes it all worthwhile.
Well, Jill, I guess I was wrong. They do have bears. For more information on Great Cats of Indiana, go to their website at www.greatcatsofindiana.org. You'll find photos and updates on the animals living there, learn how you can adopt a big cat, get rescue information, and be shown how to become a supporter of the organization.
Well, today we are at Conner Prairie, which is a wonderful spot right on the north side of Indianapolis, kind of the Fishers area. Dave Allison, who is the interpretive team coordinator, is joining me. And God forbid somebody who hasn't been to Conner Prairie, which if you haven't, then you need to come. Tell us a little bit about what goes on here at Conner Prairie. What's the mission, what you hope that people come and learn and leave with?
Sure. Well, Conner Prairie is a large living history museum, one of the largest in the country, as a matter of fact. And we have 3 separate historic areas: 1816 Lenape Camp, 1836 Prairie Town, and 1886 Liberty Corner, as well as some other interpretive areas. And we are interpreting the past, Indiana's past specifically, and we're doing it through a variety of hands-on and interactive techniques. So.
And today we're in the Indian camp, which is one of the areas.
That's right.
And the interpretive, that really is the key to Conner Prairie. And it's not just looking at things, reading things, it's actually doing things. That whole hands-on approach is what makes Conner Prairie unique. And recently you have kind of changed that for the way it used to be in the past. Tell people about what it was like in the past and what it's like today.
Sure. It had been very interpreter driven. That is, the interpreter would have a set number of things that they were going to talk about, and then they would basically stand and give that information to the visitor in kind of a passive way. And instead of really using the environment around them, obviously it's a great place to be outdoors and a lot of fun things to see and do. And so opening doors is a way to allow interpreters to use those things that they have around them to really engage visitors and provide a better story for them, and so they can kind of unlock the past in a little bit better way and walk through that door to the past.
Aptly named. And what we mean when we're talking about these interpreters is when you go to one of the areas here at Conner Prairie, you meet the people that live there, like the Conner family, and here in the Lenape camp we would meet, who would we meet here?
Well, there's a Lenape Indian interpreter. There's also a
well, you haven't tried it.
Somebody who's a trader who trades, a white man who came to the area in the early 1800s and is trading with the Indians and with people that live in the area. So you'd meet, if you're in the 1836 area, you would meet villagers in the town of Prairie Town. You would meet somebody that's the doctor in town. You'd meet people that do farming for a living, those types of things. So.
And what has the reaction been from people that now that they can get a little bit more involved?
It's very positive. People seem to really enjoy actually being able to do things and really get their hands dirty and really have fun doing that. And we've seen that through surveys and different feedback that we've been receiving from the visitors. So it's been really positive.
And obviously each area has its own specific flavor and thing that you're going to learn. Give us a little overview of when we go to visit each area, what kind of interpretation we're going to be able to do and we're going to be able to receive.
Right. Here in the Lenape Indian camp, there's, as a matter of fact, right behind us, there's some axe throwing going on.
You might hear that.
Really, a little funk in
They're
the background.
throwing the other way, though, thank goodness.
Right. And they also do some making coil pots, those types of things. They allow the visitors to touch the furs and the different trade goods. And then if you were to go over to 1886, which is a farmhouse, of course they're milking the cow and they're doing the farm chores, mucking stalls, all those things that have to be done to keep the farm working. And then
that must be a real education for the kids.
Well, certainly. And then in 1836, it's a town, so it's very much immersive kind of getting into the flow of what a town is like. You know, Mrs. Campbell's going shopping, she needs to get something from the store and helping her out with that. Of course, there's animals there and chores to do as well. So it's very, very similar in a lot of ways to the other areas, but just more of it. So.
How do you decide what sorts of activities to offer to people and to have the interpreters tell the stories?
Well, a lot of it is just based on research. Conner Prairie does a lot of research into what life was like in the various time periods, and so a lot of those activities are things that would have been going on in those various time periods. And there's also a lot of things that people just enjoy doing. That we live in a very most folks live in cities today instead of living in the country and doing those types of chores, and people like to see the animals. They like to see what life was like on a farm, and so those kinds of things are definitely big draws.
So you can come to Conner Prairie, you can milk your cows, you can throw your knives, then you can go home to your air-conditioned home.
Exactly.
Another great way, opening doors, another great way to live history here at Conner Prairie.
Exactly.
Thanks, Dave.
Well, thank you.
You're
very
welcome.
much.
Last fall, crew member Chanel Yarber was knee-deep in corn here at Conner Prairie.
And many hands make light work during harvest if you can get your friends and your neighbors to help in your husking bee.
Conner Prairie is a 1,400-acre living history museum that tells the story of the development of America's communities over time. We do this through a series of historic sites using what we call first-person and third-person interpretation. First-person interpretation is where you meet and talk with an interpreter that is dressed in the certain period, and they are talking as if it is a certain year and know nothing beyond that year. Our third-person interpreters are wearing modern clothing, and you're able to talk to them as if it's the present day and be able to ask questions and discuss history from a modern standpoint. For people who come in and experience Conner Prairie, what they will be able to see is how corn was harvested, the corn was processed at our 1886 site in late 19th century terms.
My name is Frederick Zimmerman, and this is my property here. Today's corn harvesting time, and we're out in the field picking the corn and shocking the stalks into corn shocks, and we're bringing up loads of corn still on the husk and just putting it in a big pile under the crib there. And what we're hoping for is, we'll start later this afternoon, but we'll wave it on to the evening. We'll be looking for neighbors to come and help us husk, and we'll return the favor. Big husking bee. It's just a pretty monotonous task, just husking acres of corn. So why not make fun out of your work? So you get a bunch of neighbors together and make a big party out of it. Well, a lot of people pick the corn right off as they're shocking. Others will just leave it out in the field and pick it as necessary. We've decided today, we got the wagon plenty of help today. We're going to pick as much corn out of the field as we can. And so we'll pick it with the corn still in the husk. And we just yank it right off the corn stalk, pow, and then we toss it in the wagon. And once the wagon's full, we'll bring it up here. You can see the folks over there right now are already husking it. And if you go over there, you'll see what they're doing is they're taking the husk off. Some blisters and maybe even some cut fingers by the end of the day, but that's what they're doing now. But once you take the corn cob off, we got a little corn sheller in there. Folks used to just take it and shell it by hand or with another corn cob, but we have a machine where you crank it. It takes all the corn right off and leaves the cob. And then we take that shelled corn, some of it just goes into the granary hole, and When we're ready, we'll grind it up or take it to a mill.
The corn that you're bringing in from the field is not corn that you yourself are going to eat. It's not sweet corn. It's actually called field corn. And the field corn actually is animal feed. You are using that corn to feed to your hogs and your other livestock to fatten them up, particularly your hogs.
But any product you name, you know, it all comes mainly from corn.
Well, Don, we're right in front of the District 2 schoolhouse here, and I just happened to find a McGuffey's reader, what do you know? And inside is a poem that kind of reminds me of our last story.
Why don't you read it?
Okay, I'm going to share it with you. While up and down the unhusked pile or nestling in its shade, at hide and seek with laugh and shout, the happy children played. Now that's from The Huskers by John Greenleaf Whittier, and it was written back in 1847.
Boy, that takes you back a few years, doesn't it?
Yeah, a lot of our stories do, actually.
Yes, they do.
And our next story is actually from Turkey Run, and it's in Park County. It was established at a state park back in 1916, which was Indiana's centennial.
What a wonderful gift to the citizens of Indiana.
Turkey Run is a very popular park. It's one of the top 3 in visitation throughout the state. This is such an incredibly amazing place to actually get to work. I've been camping here since I was 4 years old and never dreamed I'd get to work here. It is a spectacular place. It is what I call the Colorado of Indiana. Turkey Run is most famous for its hiking trails. This is one of the few places in Indiana where you can experience real danger when you're hiking. We have 12 hiking trails at Turkey Run that range from very easy, short trails to very intensely rugged trails. You have to climb up a waterfall at one point. You have to walk on little ledges that are about 1 foot wide with little handholds in the wall. On Trail 3 we have Rocky Hollow Canyon, one of the prettiest canyons you'll ever come across. It's always misty and cool, and after you walk through that trail, which means crisscrossing a stream on stepping stones and getting your feet wet, you'll climb up a waterfall, you'll walk on some of those little ledges, and you'll come to Wedge Rock. Those rocks were brought here by the glaciers and dumped here some 20,000 years ago as the ice age ended and the glaciers all melted as the climate was warming up. Part of the hiking experience is to go out there and climb over those boulders from Canada, compliments of the glaciers. You continue on that trail, you'll come to the Punch Bowl, which is another formation caused by the glaciers melting. Water backed into an area with boulders tumbling around in this swirling fashion and carved out a giant punch bowl. The suspension bridge at Turkey Run is the only one in the state park system. It's 202 feet in length, and it's suspended by 2 steel cables over Sugar Creek. And it's basically the only way to get from this part of the park across the bridge into the nature preserve. We have 3 museums. One is the Lieber Cabin Museum. The Lieber Cabin sits over on a knoll overlooking Sugar Creek behind Turkey Run Inn. It was found by Richard Lieber, who is the father of Indiana State Parks. This was his favorite state park. The Nature Center is the Natural History Museum on the property. We have an exhibit room that gives people an idea of some of the things they can see and do while they're out hiking the trails. People also come to see an historic home on the property that belonged to the first landowners of what later became Turkey Run State Park. The home is the Salmon Lusk home. We have the oldest inn in the state park system, built in 1919, and that's a big draw for visitors. But I'll come to work some mornings all grumpy and thinking, oh, I'd rather be playing or riding on my kayak or something. And then I'll get here and step out of my car and go, oh yeah, this is where I work.
Turkey Run State Park is located in west central Indiana on State Road 47, 2 miles east of State Road 41. There are several explanations on how the park got its name. Some believe that wild turkeys in late fall would huddle together in the canyon bottoms, or runs as they were called, to keep warm. Pioneer hunters would herd the turkeys through these natural funnels for an easy harvest. Since there is historic evidence of a large turkey population in the area, it's easy to see that turkeys in the runs prompted the name Turkey Run.
Our last story takes us back to winter when we visited Paoli Peaks in Orange County.
Now, you might not think that Indiana is a place for downhill skiing, but the folks at Paoli Peaks will prove you wrong.
Are you a skier, Jill?
You know what, Don? That plow horse could probably ski better than I.
I understand.
We are one of 7 areas. We're part of Peak Resorts. There are resorts scattered throughout the Midwest. I think the first thing that definitely comes to mind of what makes us different is where we are located, which is in southern Indiana, which you really don't think about skiing and snowboarding in southern Indiana. Our first season was 1978 and 79. A local doctor by the name of Richard Graber, during the blizzard of 78, saw this tremendous hill with all this snow and said, "What can I do?" So he and several other investors, here was born Paoli Peaks. One of the most important things that you need to have when you come to Paoli Peaks is really a positive attitude. We do cater to that beginner skier and snowboarder.
For beginners, my best tip is take a lesson. I mean, I'm an instructor, but I'm dead serious. Take a lesson. We've had very good success rates for our beginners, so quite proud of that.
They're only an hour long, and you'll learn how to stop, how to get up when you fall, and how to be in control.
Step in one first, look at the heel, make sure it's lined up, snap it in. Same goes for the other foot. Snap it in, straps go on, so that they're hanging like this, go down like that. Pushing off, you push from the heel, push forward, and that's how you start out.
Typically here at Paoli Peaks, our skier visits, which means skiers or snowboarders, is about 100,000 per season. Our season normally runs about 90 days. We usually go from mid-December through mid-March. So on average, again, it's about 100,000 visitors that we have each season. Daily, Monday through Thursday, we're open from 10 a.m. until 9:30 p.m. Fridays and Saturdays, we run almost 24 hours a day. We also have our Midnight Madness session on Friday and Saturday nights, which is midnight to 5:30 a.m. So for all those night owls out there, it's a perfect time to come. Anytime we're open, Ski Patrol is here. That is our #1 venue of providing slope safety. They help in our slow areas at the bottom of the hill, reminding people to slow down when they come in, and then they also do assist if there is an injury out on the hill. But anytime we're open, Ski Patrol is here. We have extra Midnight Madness sessions for the Martin Luther King holiday, as well as sometimes President's Weekend as well. We are one of the stops in the Midwest Extreme Series Tour as well. This year we are hosting the finals. Mother Nature, you never know what she's going to bring us, either 3 inches or 30 inches, such as we've had this year. We have over 100 stationary guns, fan guns, and we have about 15 to 20 guns that we can transport around. We take compressed air with compressed water, and when the temperature and the humidity and some other factors are just right, we pump all this up underground and it comes out a very large fan, and out comes snow. When our snowmaking system is in full operation, we pump through 6,000 gallons of water a minute, which in one snowmaking session is the equivalent of what a family of 4 uses in water in a year, is what we use in a day. So depending on the conditions and snowmaking, it's how we're able to put down such a quality snow surface when maybe one doesn't have snow in their own backyard. We do have a full-service day lodge. We have a full-service pro shop where you can have your equipment tuned or waxed. They also have hard good and soft good sales as well. We have a full-service cafeteria, a ski patrol, of course, ski school, so everything is right here that one needs. It's a whole new experience. It's a great family activity that you'll be able to continue for the rest of your life.
You know what, Don? I think we've experienced all 4 seasons here on the show today.
I think we have too.
We want to thank our hosts here at Conner Prairie Living History Museum for the time travel.
That's a lot of fun, wasn't it?
Yes.
We hope we've inspired you to travel around the state to see all the sites that we have, and especially Conner Prairie. We also hope that we've inspired you to tune in next time to Indiana Outdoors.
You know what you've inspired me to do?
What's that?
Go inside the Golden Eagle here. It's a tavern, and I hear they have wine for 6 1/4 cents.
Do you have a 1/4 cents?
I have very little sense.
Okay, let's try it.
Okay. You're the money man. You're buying, right? Feeling pretty thirsty, Don.